There was one moment inside the Oval Office on May 6, 2025, that the mainstream American media covered for barely 48 hours and then completely buried. But that moment may be the single most important turning point in the entire 14-month confrontation between Donald Trump and Canada. Because in that room, under the glare of White House cameras, in front of reporters, aides, and the full symbolic weight of the American presidency, Mark Carney looked Donald Trump directly in the eye and delivered a sentence that changed the trajectory of North American politics. He said, "There are some places that are never for sale. We are sitting in one right now. The Dean Chamam Prinsam Manging Fangyo." That was not just a line. That was a geopolitical message, a line in the sand, a public shutdown of the most controversial pressure campaign Trump had aimed at Canada. And Trump, the same man who had spent months mocking Canada's prime minister as a Keogh governor, the same man who openly floated the idea of Canada becoming the 51st American state. So the same president who suggested economic pressure could force a sovereign ally into political submission responded with "Shafoi fui fim si fui fuis," 4 words that exposed the retreat. He said, "It takes 2 to tango." Not a threat, not dominance, not escalation. Just that things that kind the just Cindy, 4 carefully chosen words that sounded charming, but revealed strategic withdrawal. And what happened next is where this story becomes explosive. According to Fortune magazine and multiple senior Canadian officials, Trump quietly stopped publicly repeating the 51st state line in the weeks that followed. Not because he forgot, not because it was a joke, because Mark Carney privately told him inside that Oval Office that repeating the idea was politically toxic and diplomatically useless. And the President of the United States complied. That is not a side note. That is proof of leverage. And tonight on CBC Nafarsin Kia News, we are going deeper than any outlet in North America has gone. Because this isn't just about one line in one meeting. This is the full story of Fi Njir MBC, how the 51st state threat collapsed, why Trump's pressure campaign backfired, and why Canada is now walking into the USMCA review with the strongest negotiating hand in modern history. So before we go further, smash that subscribe button, hit the bell, and join BCC News, because what you're about to hear is the most complete breakdown of how Trump's biggest Canada threat died behind closed doors and why the countdown to July 1st could reshape North America forever. Now let's rebuild the moment with precision. When Carney arrived at the White House for his first face-to-face meeting with Trump after Canada's federal election, he did not arrive as a leader asking for relief. He arrived with something far stronger, a fresh national mandate, a landslide victory powered almost entirely by Canadian outrage over Trump's annexation rhetoric. Even Trump admitted it in the opening minutes of the meeting. He said, "I think I was probably the greatest thing that happened to him." For once, Trump was right. Every time Trump called Carney a governor, them cheer. Every time he repeated the 51st state rhetoric, every time he hinted at economic coercion, Canadian nationalism surged. The Liberal Party surged. Carney's mandate strengthened. Trump had unintentionally built Carney's entire campaign. And Carney walked into that Oval Office not as a supplicant, but as the democratically elected leader of a country of 1 million people who had just united around one message: Canada is not for sale. Then came the line heard around the world. Carney said, "As you know from real estate, there are some places that are never for sale. We are sitting in one right now. The Dean Chamam Prinsam Mining Final." He referenced Buckingham Palace, but he was talking about Canada. Then he drove the message deeper. Having met with the owners of Canada over the course of the campaign, and it is not for sale. It won't be for sale ever. The owners, not the government, not Parliament, not a political party. The people. The millions of Canadians who rallied, voted, waved flags, boycotted American products, and turned Trump's rhetoric into the largest nationalist surge Canada had seen in decades. That is why the 51st state idea died. Not because one prime minister refused, because an entire nation rejected it. And Trump's response revealed the collapse. He said, for instance, now in some way, never say never. In does it takes two to tango. Never san di enju sao. Those words are everything. Never say never was no longer pressure. It was a hedge, a fallback, the language of someone preserving face while losing momentum. And it takes two to tango was the clearest public admission that Canada had refused consent, and that refusal could not be overcome. That was the retreat. And after Carney's private warning, Trump's public rhetoric changed almost overnight. The man who once said on national television that Canada should frankly be the 51st state suddenly went silent. That silence matters, because powerful people rarely admit defeat directly. They admit it through behavior. And Trump stopped saying it. That silence was the concession. So drop your thoughts in the comments right now. Did you know Carney privately asked Trump to stop the 51st state rhetoric inside the Oval Office? Did you know Trump stopped repeating it afterward? Did you know this single moment may have shifted the balance ahead of the free USMCA July 1st showdown? Because what comes next is even bigger. The real cost of Trump's rhetoric was not diplomatic embarrassment. It was strategic failure. At first, much of the American media dismissed the 51st state line as theater, a joke, a tactic. Trump being Trump. But Canadians took it seriously. And because Trump kept escalating, Canadian unity hardened. Polling shifted. The Liberal Party surged. National identity became the election issue. Trump's rhetoric did not weaken Canada. It unified Canada more powerfully than anything in a generation. And that is what handed Carney the leverage he now carries into the most important trade negotiation in North American history. Because now the story moves from politics to economics. The USMCA mandatory review deadline is July 1st. And this is where Trump's strategy crashes into physical reality. Pipelines, refineries, energy flows, manufacturing districts, supply chains. The Enbridge mainline moves 3 million barrels per day and spring free of Canadian crude into the American Midwest. Refineries across Chatti Saings, Chapter Ilakapris, Chepi Sain Idain Same. Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, Illinois, and Ohio were literally designed around Canadian heavy oil. They cannot simply switch overnight. The Trans Mountain Pipeline now pushes 890,000 barrels daily toward premium Asian markets. This is no longer about rhetoric. This is infrastructure. Steel, pipelines, refinery configurations, jobs, fuel prices, trade districts, and Carney's team understands this better than anyone. That is why Canada's ambassador, Kirsten Hillman, reportedly gave members of the House Ways and Means Committee customized district-level packages showing exactly how much their voters would lose if USMCA collapsed. Not theory, not diplomacy, are cold, hard numbers. Jobs lost, exports hit, fuel prices up, factories squeezed. That is leverage. And the numbers now tell the story with brutal clarity. Trump approval, the 35%, they are oil above 111. That's gas prices rising. USMCA deadline, 6 days. Number of congressional districts exporting under $250 million to Canada, 0. Times Trump repeated the 51st state line after Carney's intervention. Finds Carney at effectively 0. These are not random statistics. They are the scoreboard of a failed pressure campaign. Canada never blinked. Trump did. And in 86 days, Mark Carney walks into the USMCA table holding what may be the strongest leverage position any Canadian Prime Minister has ever possessed. That is why the Oval Office moment matters, because the proof was never in speeches. The proof was in what Trump stopped saying. No press conference, no formal reversal, no public surrender, just silence. The silence of a threat that died the moment an entire country rejected it. So, if this BCC News breakdown gave you the full picture of how the 51st state narrative collapsed, why Trump's leverage failed, and what it means for the July 1st USMCA showdown, then share this video right now with every American and Canadian following this trade war. Because the pressure campaign didn't work, Canada didn't break, and in 86 days the real battle begins. This is BCC News. Subscribe, hit the bell, and stay ahead of the story that North America's mainstream media still isn't fully connecting.